Hello and welcome to Ball Seat. England have just knocked Colombia out of the World Cup after penalties, after a 1-1 draw and 4-3 on penalties. I am joined, of course, by Ped and by Housen to analyse this game. I don't really know where to start, to be honest with you, lads. I think, the performance from England, a little bit so-so over the 90 minutes, but, they get the job done at the end of the day, don't they, Housen?
It was a game that I expected, to be honest, because when you look at what Colombia's strengths are, and you see that they're going to attack with width, they're going to try and exploit the space in between the back three and in between the fullbacks, and England sort of countered that quite well by making it almost like a back five at time. And the same thing going the other way, England's movement in the final third was what was going to be got England over the line. And that was nullified by the holding midfielders from Colombia sort of sitting and blocking out that space. So it was two really good attacks against two really ordinary defensive, and they sort of cancelled each other out because of that, both wary of the other one. And then I think obviously Colombia started to twist and go for it like you've got to do when you're 1-0 down. And I think England are very fortunate to still be in it come the penalties.
I think we can all agree we're just dead happy for Jordan Henderson, aren't we?
Big Jord, saved by little Jord. It's just a roller coaster of emotions for people who generally care. I mean, we just sat there and just soaked it all in.
No, it's not like we're going to jump on a bandwagon.
No, I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon.
I refuse to jump on the bandwagon. People know me. I've got credibility. Is literally my middle name. No, do you know what?
Seriously, right, towards the end of the game, they get that equaliser in 93 minutes and stuff like that. I did not think for a minute we'd be sat here like this talking.
I didn't
England winning that game of football.
I didn't think they'd win. I think what got it so close was that
5 minutes ago I didn't think I'd be sitting there like this.
After England scored, the Colombians started doing all the shithouse tactics, and I think that really got to England. They didn't know what to do.
Did it get to you? What broke you?
Big Jord.
Big Jord.
Big Pickford saving it. I mean, that just brought me into the tournament fully. No, but
you're not going to jump on the bandwagon?
No, I'm not jumping on the bandwagon. I mean, there's been no sense in that whatsoever.
You've built up a lot of credibility with
I have,
TV
and I would never lower myself to to go in that direction. But from the game's point of view, I just thought when that happened, when England scored, when they started doing all the shithouse tactics, England players didn't know how to react, and I think some of them thought, well, we need to fight back a little bit here. And as soon as they done that, they fell into the trap, and that allowed little mistakes, Colombia to come into the game, which ultimately meant they equalised. I mean, the save, first of all, from Pickford was unbelievable, but that's just typical of an Everton goalkeeper. You do something amazing like that, and 2 minutes later, some dickhead in front of you is making a mistake.
The thing is, Colombia, a few of them players, right, listen, from a purely England perspective now, a few of them players should have had a red card or something like that. But you know what? They didn't get the marching powder. Sorry, they didn't get the marching powder. They didn't
that
get
was my joke,
orders.
you bastard.
What was mine?
No, I'm not going to say. I think it was something to do with Shakira and Humble Mountains or something. No, well, listen, the one you should have been sent off for the one on Jordan Henderson. That was a sending off. And I think the ref who's got a reputation for red cards left, right and centre in the MLS, that amazing league, he wouldn't produce one. And they took it in turns to just go around kicking people. And mentally, I thought when that equaliser went in, I thought that's England done. I really did. So do you know what? It was a good learning experience for those players tonight, because they haven't. So far, everything's been quite easy for them, but also for the manager as well, because a lot of people before the game are having a go at him, saying, well, he should have gone his strongest team in the last game. Well, now he's facing a quarter-final against Sweden. If England win that game, then it's Croatia or Russia in the semi-final. And the game itself, they've learned loads of lessons about some of those players mentally. Some of them stood up to it. Some of them I don't think they did. But also from the subs' point of view, I think he's learned a few.
Don't bring Dyer on to try and protect the lead. But then equally, Dyer goes and gets the last penalty.
Well, we all said that we literally. I don't know if we can put our reaction out, but if we can put our reaction out from when Dyer walked up, I mean, it was universal. Just he was the worst player in an England shirt tonight by a long way. He was awful. And then for him to go and do that is kind of hilarious. And by the same rule, the exact same thing happened with Henderson. We saw him doing kick-ups and went, he's well missed this. He's trying to look like he's not arsed. He's trying to look like he's not phased. and I think he went too far. But I'll give him his due. It was a great penalty, but it was an even better save. So that's the
best save from the game, though. Jordan Pickford. I mean, the one from the 35-yarder, absolutely unbelievable from England's goalkeeper.
I mean, listen, he's had his critics in the last few days. People talking absolute nonsense about him. A lot of people have stood up for him. A lot of goalkeepers in the know, and they've said, okay, he could have done better, but the majority of what he did was sound. And I think tonight it showed his mental strength. I mean, the save is absolutely incredible.
Being alert to see that, there's no build-up play to it. He just comes in and hits it, doesn't he?
You would expect a shot like that, and it was flying in top bin. He saved it, and then the penalties. Listen, those penalties. I'm sitting there thinking, just stand big, just try and stay in the middle. And he's missed 4. One at the crossbar, obviously, but he was nowhere near that. And then the last pen, he's gone out there and he's made the save, and it was a brilliant save, and I think he's answered a lot of critics. Because you know what, listen, you were asking me before, you were saying, this and that about, and you trying to make light of it, but I've watched this lad for a year, having to pull off a lot of incredible stuff to keep Everton in some big games that if he'd lost could have swung the momentum of our season in other ways. Yes, he's made the odd mistake. He's a young lad. He's 20, 23, 24. He's just had consecutive seasons playing behind a Sunderland defence and an Everton defence. He's been busy, and I've watched him make some absolutely amazing saves. And I was so gutted that England conceded that goal, because I thought he's lost his moment. That would have been the moment I thought he's won that game for them. But to go into penalty shootouts and then win the game for them again, I think that's huge.
Do you think Kyle Walker got exposed a little bit tonight?
I think everyone in that defence got exposed. I really
Is that
do.
the worry then, going into the other games? Because
it's not my worry, because I'm not bothered.
He's not jumping on the back.
I'm not, sadly to me,
the thing for me is, and I thought this from the first game with England, is that 3 at the back, it kind of suits them in some regards, but it's too easy to get out wide of our centre-halves.
I think what it does is it allows England to bypass the midfield from an attacking point of view and build up quickly from the back. They basically use those wider centre-halves to push the ball forward into the channels and into the creative players, which is what is England's strength. Whether that's Sterling, who I think was very off again tonight. Lingard, he didn't have a great game either. And actually, Harry Kane was pretty awful tonight. I mean, put his penalty away in the 90 minutes. Happy days on that. But apart from that, why is he coming back into that quarterback role? Why is he coming away from the line? Harry Kane
it's
needs
frustration,
to be...
That's why he's doing that. You see loads of strikers do that. He's too good. He has to stay up top, you know what I mean? And I felt like Southgate's substitutes, I didn't really understand them. I just wanted to
I don't know what Loftus-Cheek needs to do to get a game. I think he's the best midfielder. I think he's the best midfielder.
And you needed someone to put the foot on the ball and run with the ball, maybe take out a man by running past him and then opening space up there. That's what England are
I thought there was a real lack of creativity tonight, because you expect that defence is going to be open, because it's set up for England to play football and and create chances, but no one created chances tonight. It was really, really poor going forward. How many real chances? They had a few hard chances.
Kane's header, Dele Alli's header, maybe something like that. There's the only 2 that I can really remember off the top of my head. And both of them were back stick, and
But they were playing against a very good side, though. Colombia are a good side. I thought they started really slow, but once they went behind and knew they had to get back into the game, and don't forget that crowd was amazing.
It was a lot of Colombian
70% of that crowd were, or even more, were backing Colombia to win, because even the neutrals would have been backing Colombia to win. No one likes England, let's be honest. People in England don't even like England. Exactly. Scouts and things. So I think this team have grown a lot tonight. And all these people in the media who say, where's the experience? You need to take this player and that player, and you've never been to a World Cup. I think teams grow in a World Cup, and I think tonight would have seen this team grow a lot.
Well, you got to remember as well, this Colombia team, when it came up against the back 3 previously in the tournament at Poland, absolutely shredded them. Shredded them from a wide area, shredded them coming through the middle, and they would have been loving playing against an England side that sets up very the same with that high line and the prospect of getting in behind them, which they, apart from like right at the death when they really went for it, they didn't really do. England actually contained them very well. I haven't watched Sweden with an eye to how they would play against England, because I've got to be honest, I didn't think Sweden was getting through Switzerland, but they absolutely deserved it. So they was by far the better team. But you've got to say, like everyone's looking at the rest of the teams that's involved, you've got to say, can you beat Sweden on the way to a World Cup semi-final?
Of course.
And that's all you've got to say to the lads, isn't it? Is like, this is the furthest England have been since Italianate. That is a mad thing to think about. And all they've got to do is beat Sweden to do it. Sweden, really? Like, They've got a few good players. They've got a little bit of an identity. But if you'd have given Gareth Southgate the chance to beat Sweden, to go further than any of the other managers in nearly 30 years, I'm sure he's taking that. And then, like you said, it's potentially Croatia or Russia.
Is there concern about the lack of attacking threat from tonight, though? Because
No,
we didn't
I
create
think-
a lot of chances.
I think it was a case of both teams knew that they had defensive frailties against very strong attacks. What I would worry about if I was an England fan, obviously, it's not really something I'm into, but if you are an England fan, I would be looking at that Croatia team. And even that Russia team to an extent, although they're way more counter-attacking. But I'd be looking at the way that Croatia team holds it in midfield and say England cannot compete with a midfield like that. Henderson on his own, it's not happening. If they put Loftus-Cheek in there and they put Dyer in, you're looking to contain and hit on the counter if you went 4-3-3, but that's changing the entire system. The big thing I've got with Southgate at the moment is we've never seen a plan B from Southgate. We've only seen his plan A. What's his plan B for when he comes up against a team that's going to dominate him like Croatia?
Does he need to drop Sterling for Saturday?
I think Sterling and Ali probably need a drop.
I think Ali's not fit and what didn't look fit the entire game, and I think there has to be a little rejig in there. I didn't think Vardy offered much at first, but once they started stretching them a little bit, got more into the game, he needed just a few touches. But you're right, they need a dominant midfielder who will go between the lines.
I think Loftus-Cheek's done that brilliantly.
Which is weird because Loftus-Cheek came in for the last game and doesn't get anything tonight. So it's weird.
I think he's really impressed me this tournament, much more so than I've seen when I've seen him play club football. And I think we were crying out for someone who can drive with the ball at his feet and just take that man on, as I said earlier on. And I do worry that, like, Lingard, maybe, I said to you upstairs, I'm not saying he's a bad player, I just don't really get him, to be honest with you. I don't watch enough Manchester United to be able to tell you exactly
He's a
what he
playmaker,
does.
he's a movement guy. He's also a guy that'll defend from the front, and he's all energy, he's all work rate, and I think that's something
But that's not what we saw in an England shirt tonight from him.
You didn't see that from any of the forward three. You'd have told me all of that forward three was championship level tonight, all of them. Sterling, who's had a brilliant season, Kane, who's on fire, really, and Jesse Lingard, who scored 20-something goals now, 13-something goals this season. All of them have been absolutely banging goals in left, right and centre. You wouldn't have thought that if you'd have watched them tonight and been scouting them, you'd be like, don't know what you're talking about, mate. I honestly think it was more of a case of England didn't play the game that they've seen them play in the previous 3 games because they was worried about the counter that was coming from Colombia, and Colombia also didn't play their game because they was worried about the ball threat that England offered.
You could see Colombia's counter. I mean, Cuadrado's pace when they're breaking on the other side is absolutely outstanding.
And England won't face that on Saturday. So I think that worry of that pace on the counter-attack is gone, and I think that might mean England are a little bit more expansive. Again, it's all a learning curve, and it's all about.
Sweden have been in some tough games.
Listen, I watched
They've
Sweden.
come through them, but
I
they've been in
watched
tough
Sweden
games.
today, and the chances they created and didn't take. I've seen that in 3 or 4 games, and they make chances. They're a good side. I'm not writing Sweden off by any means, but they're a little bit more meat and potatoes kind of. Then they're not going to rip you apart with pace. They just move the ball really well.
What do you think of the referee tonight, Howson?
He didn't have control of the game. I think in the first 20 minutes you could see shithousing going on from both sides, let's be honest. Diving from England and from Colombia. And the mad one was the way he just allowed the spot to be dug out.
That was amazing.
He spotted that so as it was happening 5 minutes before the commentator.
Shithouses, no shithouses.
I find that astonishing, and I was hoping there was going to be a bit of karma with one of them blasting it over. And I didn't even see Harry Kane go and stamp it back down again, which is nuts as well. I think
It was. Know what though? It reminded me of like in the wrestling where a wrestler will go to the tag team, where he'll go to the ref and start having a go while the other one behind is battering his partner. It was a bit like that. He was like having a go with the ref. So don't let that fall on the floor. Queen might die. And and he was in his face while he's all the time going.
That wasn't meant by the way.
Scratch on that, and it was brilliant. It was absolutely amazing shithousery, and that's you know what, credit to them for being, because England would never ever do such things, and yet England have lost shootouts before because of it. So credit to them, but in the end of the day, you need a hero. Jordan Pickford's the hero. There had to be one Jordan who was a hero.
And it didn't. You know, when Jordan Henderson, you mentioned it before, mate. When Jordan Henderson was doing keepy-ups, that was not a good thing. Not a good thing for him.
We clocked it straight away, didn't we? And I was like, far too confident going into a pen there.
Do you think that? I don't think that was confidence. I think that was focusing on anything else but taking a penalty.
Well, no, I think
that was like being
a decent pen.
It was given the appearance of confidence, which means that you're shitting it, and you're obviously shitting it. Well, I'd rather they walk up, bang it on the spot, and then hit it. I didn't like Rashford's either, and I'm thinking there's another United scapegoat coming in right here, especially as he changed the trajectory of his run. How many of them have you seen that get missed?
That absolutely eclipsed, though, the argument that people have been using for years again, pundits on TV, that you can't practice penalties. You know, you can, of course you can't.
There's some really well hit ones.
You can't practice the pressure, of course you can't. But if you've got muscle memory and you know how to strike that ball and you do that every day in training and you're confident in yourself, why would you change? You know, it's natural. It's a natural thing. So you could tell that nearly every single one of those penalties, even the ones that were missed, they were all practiced. And then it's just in the hands of tiny details. Will the keeper get there? You know, little tiny things. So, you know, we're seeing a bit more now. We're not seeing this all.
Well, like I said, even Henderson's. But that was a phenomenal save from the goalkeeper. I mean, there's that savable zone in like the centre of the goal, and it's like it's goalkeeper diving height, and it's not too far in the corners. That's where if you put it like Southgate's in '96, his penalty was in that zone where they get saved. Your Batty and was it Ince in '98? Those was in that little zone, that height in that area of the pitch. None of England's penalties went there tonight. There was some phenomenal penalties. And like we said, I'd love to see some more rolled down the middle, or keepers just stand in the middle and make them make a decision and get in their heads a little bit.
The thing about the keepers is the keepers want to be the hero. That's their only job in a penalty shootout. So I think by diving, they think, well, I've got a better chance. But I would love to see just a couple just stand there. The old like FIFA pairs.
Oh, funny. And you catch it.
Cheers, mate. And because
it takes big balls to do that. It takes big balls if you're a goalkeeper, because it doesn't look like it's trying, and that's what the nation thinks when they're watching it. But that's actually not what's happening. How many of those penalties went straight down the middle to begin with?
Well, Harry Kane's did for a start in real time. His penalty in real time just went right down the middle. You know, he psyched the goalie out, because goalkeepers just think, well, I've only got one job. I want to be the hero. I'll dive whichever way, but more times than not, if they just stand there for a little bit longer, even if it just puts that doubt in the player who's about to take the penalty's mind of thinking, oh my God, he's onto me here. But
just one final thing I wanted to talk about then. We mentioned the shithousery earlier on in the video. That happened from both sides. It was Colombia, it was England. Yeah. We were both doing it. That's the first time I've really seen an England side proper get into it like that. But is there an argument to say, Housen, that they got a little bit too involved in that type of stuff?
Yeah, there is to an extent, but
would you rather see England do that or not?
I wouldn't say it was shithousing. I think they just got too involved with what Colombia was doing. I think they allowed themselves to get distracted rather than realising that they was trying to put them off the game, that they was trying to shit talk them, they was trying to distract them, and that, I think it worked. I think England got distracted rather than went shithousing. There was dives. There was absolutely dives. I don't like dives. I'm all for a bit of shithousing, but I like the more like aggressive shithousing. Yeah, rather than... Yeah, I like that. I don't like diving. I don't like none of that caper, really. So, look, if your team does it and you win off it, you don't really give a shit, do you? I mean, I don't really get into it.
No, we don't get into it anyway. Predictions for the next round then?
Well, I don't know. Honestly, it's the way this World Cup's gone so far. It's
Russia going to win it.
It could.
Can you imagine?
What I don't like though, and I don't see this at some of the other nations, is that we as a country build the game up. Like tonight was built up like it was a huge game. It's like, don't build it up as much. Just take it. It was the second round of the. It's the quarter-finals. Like, don't build it up like it's the.
But Ped, they've moved Love Island for it.
Well, I mean, what are you gonna do?
You don't move Love Island for a nothing game. It's a programme, I believe, on ITV.
I don't know what to say to you.
No. Like the video, subscribe to Ball Street, and enjoy Love Island if that's your thing. And don't get carried away.
Don't get carried away, man. It's only a game.
You know.